Welcome to the Celebration of You. I'm your host, Holly Dowling. I'm thrilled to share with you incredible people from all over the world who are living and leading extraordinary lives. From overcoming immense adversity to discovering the secret sauce to leading with courage and grace. Their stories are going to bring you hope and inspiration. Now, let the stories begin. Oh boy, am I excited to introduce everybody to what I would consider, if God had given me a daughter, this is the woman I would dream to have as a daughter. So, and she had no idea I was going to say that. So on that note, oh, Amy, I can't wait. I was graced with the honor and privilege of getting to co-facilitate and help lead at the Girl Up event a few weeks ago, the annual event, and was so blessed to get to introduce you to this amazing young woman who is changing the world. And when you hear from this woman that you're about to meet, everybody, you want to talk about embracing life and doing what you're called to do and going after your passions. There's no excuses when you meet the amazing and brilliant Amy Gong Liu. Thank you, Amy, for being with me.
Thanks so much for having me, Holly.
What was that like for an introduction?
I don't deserve this praise. You started talking and I'm sitting here in my room. I'm like, I don't know what to say. I really don't know what to say to follow that. But it's truly an honor being here. Really, really so.
Well, you deserve every minute and every ounce of what I just said. And I am, it was like fun, right? We got to talk on the phone before we met live in DC. And then we got to spend 2 days together. And it was just like, oh my goodness. And what I'm most excited about is actually, Amy, you're the first person that I have had on the show that's not one of the, shall we call it, ambassadors and champions like myself of Girl Up. You are truly, well, you've done everything with Girl Up, and I can't wait for you to share with us the journey. Can we just start with Girl Up for you? Like, tell us about, you opened your first chapter, you then ended up on the Teen Advisory Board. So without me bursting the bubble, take us on the journey of Girl Up for you.
Sure. Yeah. So Girl Up is a really, really personal story for me. I'd always been really, really interested in women's rights and girls' rights. My personal story, it's really, really familiar to me, and it actually runs in my family. I see sexist discrimination. My grandmother herself doesn't know how to write her name. My dad's sister, who he actually got the chance to go to school over her because he was seen as the male, and his family basically thought that the investment would be greater on him because he was a male. He would eventually, get the job and provide for his family, and education for a girl just didn't seem like a smart choice. And I grew up hearing these stories, and I grew up thinking, this isn't fair. This really, really isn't fair. And my parents at the time were super encouraging. They were like, yes, this isn't fair. What are you going to do about it? In high school, I had the amazing opportunity of meeting a teen advisor who was the class before me. And we got into a conversation about, girls' rights and international development. And she said, have you heard of Girl Up? And I said, no, what is Girl Up? It sounds awesome. And she said, it's going to change your life. It's something that really, really puts girls at the center of the movement, really empowers and harvests the power of girls. And you should be a part of it. So I looked it up. I found it was a campaign under the United Nations Foundation, did a lot of awesome work. But what I really loved about it was that it centered girls at the heart of the movement. So like you said, I went and I started a chapter at my high school. I was a junior at that time, to a lot of disdain actually from the student population. And you would think that a lot of girls would have been very supportive of the idea, but a lot of the criticism that came, after I started the club were actually from girls who, thought feminism was outdated, who thought it just wasn't necessary. I don't know, it seemed extraneous. And obviously, there were boys who were like, yes, girl up, boy down. But what hurt the most was sometimes the harsher words that I heard from my female classmates that really, really hurt. A year later, we had really catapulted in membership. We had made presentations to the school body about our mission, our goals. We'd done a super successful fundraiser, basically for the school cycle campaign, raising money for bikes to send girls to school with. And then
I love that story. You know that about me. That's like my favorite. Okay, keep going. Yes.
Right. And then my senior year, I really wanted to get more involved with the national logistics of Girl Up. And so I applied to be on their teen advisory board. Basically, that's it's a really, really an honor to be selected. And I was so, so happy to have received that privilege. It's essentially a council of 21 girls. And then my year was the first year that they actually got their first international teen advisor. So girls really from around the world who are really invested in Girl Up mission and want to embody the Girl Up spirit back home. And like Alexis said, the girl who I met, the teen advisor before me who introduced me to Girl Up, it really, really did change my life. By my senior year, when I was on the teen advisory board, when I was traveling with Girl Up, speaking on behalf of Girl Up, something had clicked inside, and suddenly the things that people were saying that used to hurt, that used to really drag me down, just didn't hurt like they did anymore, because I was so, so proud and really inspired by the work of the girls around me who were doing what they knew how to do best.
And you know what's fascinating is you think about, I didn't realize, Amy, that when you did start this chapter, that you had a lot of adversity and you had to face, people not being the most supportive, especially the voices of young women, like your own peers. So, when I think about what that took for you, how many people would just probably throw the towel in and go, well, so much for this, right? I'm not getting any much support. And the fact that you went on to do it because you had your own personal, and I want to get back to that personal story because it's what makes you, I believe, your richness, your character, your just brilliance. What's fascinating though is, would you share with everybody some of the things that you guys have done? You were part of the entire Girl Up team that helped pass a bill. You helped pass the act, the Girls Count Act. Tell me about that and tell us all about that.
It was one of the most amazing things I think I've been a part of, just the power of sitting on a team, just so concerned about legislation, so concerned about the issues at hand. So basically my Girl Up year was the year that we passed a bill called the Girls Count Act into law. Essentially, this enables USA to send funds overseas to help account for legal documentation for girls and boys. And it's weird because you wouldn't think that this is a really necessary problem, but often a birth certificate is just a stamp. It means you're part of a country. It means you're a citizen. It means you matter. In a lot of different countries, the process and the logistics to get a birth certificate just weren't cemented in place. And this often meant that girls who are the most vulnerable in terms of this setting were not getting the services and the resources that they deserved. And so we sat down with a team of lobbyists. We sat down with our legislative director. But most of all, we sat down with other girls who were really passionate about this issue, about data collection, about the necessity of taking political and legislative action to craft this bill and lobby for it to pass into law. That entire process was exhausting. We had so many different meetings. We were really mobilizing Girl Up supporters around the country, talking with our co-sponsors in the Senate and the House, just constantly pushing to get it through. The first time we tried, it actually didn't. It died, I think, in committee. And then my year, we were like, we really, really need to pass this because the numbers are coming back. The data is way too alarming. Girls are at their most vulnerable. We need to pass this bill. And so we really doubled our efforts. And that year, Girl Up really just launched a campaign with the teen advisors really at the helm of it, the girls that I worked with who were just so, so passionate about political advocacy, leading the charge. And then that year, President Obama signed the bill into law. And I remember that day just getting on a call with the other girls, with our lobbyists who we were working with. It was one of the most amazing days. Just that feeling was, yeah.
I'm just sitting here, I get covered with goosebumps. Everybody that knows me and listens, right? They know how Holly is, but I'm literally sitting here in awe and I'm thinking to imagine for everyone listening, right? You were part of something that is historical. And what I want everybody to know right now is this was Amy and a force of these young women. So at this point, how old were you when you were a teen advisor, my friend, and helping bring an act into history for our country and our young girls? How old were you?
I was 17.
Oh, seriously. Like, that's the part that's amazing, is that because of a movement and something like Girl Up, the opportunity that you had, and it took you being able to step up and saying, I'm not going to stop. I want this. I mean, you guys were marching Capitol Hill. You do this every year at the annual events, but you were actively involved. And I mean, would you say this has a lot to do with what you're pursuing now at Columbia? This experience?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. If I were asked to pin down one experience that really solidified what I want to do with my future, it would be this. I really want to work in policy. I want to work in political advocacy. But most of all, I want to work on a team. The best part about this entire campaign is that we were part of something much, much greater than ourselves. We came to these meetings with other girls in our club, with Girl Up staff, with people who were always there to support each other. And in terms of politics, that's what I want to do. I want to find those people who are championing causes that they know are greater than them, finding people who lift each other up. And I think that's the magic of it.
It is. And to understand that at such a young age, honestly, Amy, and you'll see this if you haven't already seen this, there's so many adults, right, that have lived much longer lives who have yet to figure that out, or are just now figuring that out, right? It's about, look what we can do when we lift each other up and stand up for each other. And I really I want the listeners to know, this is not gender bias. This is for men and women, boys and girls, right? It's what are we doing for the greater cause of our world? And the numbers, would you share with us, because I don't want to misconstrue or miscommunicate this, but give us just a taste of the data and the numbers of how many girls, both U.S. and then globally, do not have birth certificates and don't exist, and the number of boys.
It's millions. It's in the millions. And the thing is, we're only starting research on this. We didn't realize how underrepresented of a field this area of study was. We have a lot of statistics about girls who aren't in school, but we don't necessarily think about the little things like whether a girl is a citizen or not. But we have heard literal actual cases of girls in Guatemala who have gone to hospitals after experiencing bouts of sexual violence from intimate partners, from family members, and who have been denied services because they weren't equipped with a proper birth certificate. They were not able to just access what should have been a basic human right just because they didn't have a slip of paper.
For a darn slip of paper, this child, an innocent child, and it just gets me every time we talk about this, because you've been on parts of the world now where you have actually met these young women, to see somebody that's so innocent and to some degree being violated by the people they trust the most, or who we should trust, our family. And then they can't even get help because they don't exist on a piece of paper.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. And I heard a figure, and this was last year when I started getting involved, right? About a year and a half ago. And the number that I heard, and again, I don't know how far off this is, but it was about average globally, about 55 million girls and 45 million boys. And does that sound about right? In the millions?
That's right.
Okay. Oh my gosh, girlfriend. Well, tell me too. And we have to give a shout out, because I have to say that it's because of the women like Anna Blue and Melissa Kirby and Kathy, with the United Nations. It's these women that they're committing their lives, right, to be a part of taking this. It's now 8 years going Girl Up, but it's these people that are at the helm that are just giving I call it sweat equity, right? They're never paid enough for what they're really doing to help give all of you and get you, in this place to be the ambassadors. But tell me about, I also know that, and I got the privilege of hearing this from you in DC, but tell us about your experience in Rwanda when you went over there. And that was another amazing opportunity you had. Yes.
So after graduating from high school, I had the opportunity to travel with Girl Up to the first actually ever Women in Science STEM camp, which was happening in Gashora, Rwanda. And this brought together girls from the US and 8 different African countries together for 3 weeks, basically with our partners Microsoft and AOL, the Huffington Post, basically all there to give girls the experience of a lifetime, a really rigorous training in STEM education, coding basics, robotics basics, but also leadership training. And that's why actually I went with Girl Up as a leadership facilitator, and got to live, just side by side with these girls, really like become familiar with my cohort, almost like acting like a camp counselor of sorts, but just basically sitting with these girls every night and doing leadership development activities, having heart-to-hearts about policy and politics and what these girls wanted to do, and tapping into basically every single person's potential, kind of like what you do, Holly. It was a very amazing experience to be sitting on ground with so many different girls that I really, really would not have gotten the opportunity to meet otherwise, to be there to really, really experience everybody's potential. It was an incredibly hopeful experience. It was, it just, girls in STEM is one of the, it's the thing of the future. It's really, really, it's up and coming. And these girls are truly making strides already in schools with their coding projects, with their abilities, with their intelligence, and the world needs to hear it a little bit more.
Mm-hmm. But it takes people like you that are willing to stand up for this, right? And to be able to say, I want to give everybody a voice. I want people to know what's going on. And just to know that, your future, it's just unbelievable, Amy. I can't wait. Well, I told you, you're stuck with me for the rest of your life because I will be watching and just cheering you on from the sidelines. And what's amazing is for all you're doing, you're at Columbia. Are you truly the captain of the water polo team too?
I am, yes.
When do you have time for that? Seriously.
I don't sleep very often. I didn't sleep very much this year, and I definitely want to make that a priority next year, but it doesn't even feel like work. And I didn't feel like I was missing any sleep because everything that I do, I love so much. I do it because of the people. I do it because these girls on the water polo team, they inspire me so, so much. But just everything I'm involved in on campus, I really, truly think I found a family, and not many people can say that with what they're involved, but I feel so, so lucky to be a part of what I am.
Yes. And that is one intense sport. So I just have to give kudos to you because, oh my goodness, right? Like that one that's the extreme of the extreme. Like you have to be in such great shape, and I'm in awe of that. And what I also love, and I want to know more about this because we didn't get to talk a lot about this when we were together, but you're also the president of the mentoring program for children that have been impacted and affected by violence, domestic violence.
That's right. Yes.
Tell me about that. Where's that coming from? You stepped up
Absolutely.
to do that. Yeah.
It's a combination, actually, a lot of different things. So domestic violence, obviously, it's a women's issue. It really is. It disproportionately affects women and girls. And intimate partner violence is something that actually we became very, very familiar with just working with the Girl Scout Act, seeing how birth certificates were often tied with directly getting help for survivors of domestic violence and abuse. And so coming into college, this was a really, really big thing that I wanted to focus on. I wanted to find something that attacked at its source, basically helping children survive and thrive and grow. And I found this program on campus, and specifically it was in conjunction with a place in New York City called the New York Asian Women's Center. And they are amazing, amazing work. They're 24/7. They operate a shelter. They operate a hotline. They operate services to really help women and their children get back on their feet. And this program that they have, it's a mentoring program with children who have experienced histories of domestic violence in their families, and students on campus who maybe have some personal involvement, who have experienced it themselves, or who really, really are passionate about the issue. I also was really, really drawn to this because it's Asian American focused, and in college, I think, really wanted to get back with just my entire culture, with the entire story, especially with understanding what happened to my grandmother and my aunt and my mother, and a lot of this latent discrimination that's kind of in my blood. I wanted to solidify it and say, how do I reckon with this in the present? How do I make it something I can deal with? And then this organization just seemed like the perfect fuse of all these together.
Mm. And I just want to take me back to, you mentioned, and your grandmother can't even write her name. And I believe you even said in your mother, did she finish high school?
My mother did, yes.
Okay, all right.
But my grandmother never got a formal education, nothing like that. That was unheard of.
Yeah. Well, and I think that what's got to be amazing is your family. They have to be in awe of you. Tell me that they are just like your mom, your dad, everybody. You're the hero. You're the one that's, making it all happen. I mean, what's it like? Do they just sit in awe of you? I mean, are they participating in this with you? What's the impact been on them watching you go through Girl Up and all the things that you've managed to now do in our world?
You say that, but I really think it's the other way around. I went home after finals and spent every single night after dinner just sitting in the living room with my parents, just trying to talk to them because I finally understood how strong they are, just how both of them are just every conception of strength and dignity and grace, what they have both gone through, the kind of like labor of love that they put in. They've been my inspiration through it all. And yes, I mean, we had our struggles growing up. They didn't want me going into politics. I don't think they really wanted me doing exactly what I wanted to do. My dad is a chemist. He really, really wanted me to be a chemist like him. And I mean, everybody wants their children to be like them because that's what's familiar. But also, when I was traveling for a Girl Up, when I was flying across the country, he was the one that came with me every single time. My mom was the one who woke up with me every single morning when I had practice, when I was going to events, to debate tournaments, and she would always, always be there. And I knew her actions were a lot stronger than her words. And now I go back and just, I mean, I told you this, but I stand on the shoulder of greats. I would not have been able to climb the mountains that I've climbed if I weren't lifted by people halfway, 3/4 of the way there. My mom and my dad have walked the walk, and I'm standing on their shoulders. I'm so grateful to them.
Oh, and I loved it when you said that day. I'm on the shoulders of greatness. And you know, it was because we were leading that event together about shattering the glass ceiling. You know, and it was so fabulous to see, you know, both of us in two completely different generations, but still faced with a lot of the similar, it's the same questions. It's the same issues, right? These issues haven't just started now. They're the same issues that have been around forever. And it's so fascinating, though, to see the energy and the passion in young women like yourself who are saying, I am grateful that I have these shoulders of greatness to stand on, and you're not taking it for granted. And you're saying, I'm going to do everything in my power to make it a different place for those behind me coming up.
Exactly. Right. Just equipping the next generation with the resources they have to make it even better for them. That's ultimately what I want to do.
Oh, we know you will. Like I said, I'm just so excited to sit back and watch the ride. You're just going to be, who knows what you're about to do in our world, my friend. But there is a story, though. This is the one. I think you remember when we were together in DC, and I was like, I couldn't stop talking about the bicycles. The story of the bicycles impacted me so greatly, Amy, because there's so much like somebody like you getting to have this amazing opportunity to be an advocate and to be a champion for women around the world and to have this higher level education. But what the bicycle story did for me was to understand the power that you guys, what you're doing to help give young children, girls, even a taste at being educated. I mean, I want you to share the story, but the part that hit me is that there's girls that were walking 2 hours just to get to a school, and the school was nothing more than a cement slab with some holes for them to use as a restroom. And education is so priceless that to do that, many of them couldn't do it because they couldn't walk back home another 2 hours to turn around and go back. So will you take me through that experience of what the bicycles have done?
Exactly. It's School Cycle, I think, has been one of my favorite Girl Up projects to date because it really, really understands. Often when you say we want to provide girls with education, what does that mean? Nobody really delves into the deeper details of it. And nobody talks about the little things that are really preventing girls from going to school. Having a period and not having sanitary hygiene products to have often takes days out of a girl's education. And then ultimately these days add up, a girl doesn't return to school. The distance that a girl has to walk or has to travel to school, this is another one that people don't really think about, because when we think of school, we think, oh, I'll hop on the bus, I'll hop on the train, I'll drive to school. Nobody really talks about walking 2 hours or having to commute both ways, having to sleep over on the weekends because the walk back is too long. The sacrifices that travel can be. And when Lauren, who is the co-founder of School Cycle, she identified this issue. She approached Girl Up with this. She said, instead of when often giving girls education means giving them the road to getting there, right? And School Cycle was born. And girls across the country, it was it was a really, really identifiable cause because we all had bikes. We all, grew up learning how to ride a bike. Our dad would just push us, take off the training wheels. Here was a simple solution to something that, so many people had agonized over. And here was also a way for girls to get involved. And so across the country, this was our biggest fundraiser of the year. we had cycling themed fundraisers. So a lot of what Girl Up Plus did across the country was contacting cycling studios, Soul Cycle, Flywheel, these exercise studios, and saying, would you be able to donate a class for charity? And then, basically asking for donations, asking people who wanted to take in the classes to think about maybe when they were cycling, about the kind of like distance and emotional labor and physical labor that girls, would use to get to school. But ultimately, it's still been one of Girl Up's most successful campaigns because it really mobilized everybody. My club, some of my club members, we were all really behind this. We were, on the streets doing our bake sales, doing our dinners, our donations, our business, outreach. But it was something that everybody could get behind because everybody knew what it meant. It was so tangible. It was so real. And so it was a huge success. I think it's still going. We're really bringing it back. But Holly, you saw Jennifer from Malawi, who was the recipient of one of these bikes.
Yes.
And how it really did change her life. It's having an impact. It's really a tool, but ultimately the girls are the ones still doing the biking. The girl is the one with the power, getting to school, learning. The bike is just a simple way, a connector to help. But ultimately, at the end of the day, Girl Up recognizes that girls are still the source of power. It's still about Jennifer, who's going to school now, who's finishing up school, who's going to graduate and get a job. She was the one who did the work. It was just about getting the way and finding the road there.
And that is the impact and the power that what people are capable of doing when we're willing to have our eyes open and say, there's a need. What can we do? And that's what I love about what Girl Up's doing and what you've been a big part of. And, you brought up Jennifer, and it was amazing to meet her. She also, because of the bicycle and being able to get educated, tell me, did it get her out of a marriage at 14 years old?
It did, yeah. So she was in a forced marriage, and it was an abusive one, but just the presence of a bike, the way it was like, yes, it was an escape, but also it was a new start. It was a way for her to really take control of what was best for her as a girl and as, somebody who can make a difference. And Jennifer is going to school now. I was talking to her. She really wants to come back. She wants to do something big. I asked her, I was like, oh, what do you want to do? Just like when you're done with school. She said, I'm not sure yet, but I just know I'm going to do something, and I'm going to help people. I'm going to make this happen. And those words are so powerful to hear.
And she is a gem. Well, it is just amazing. And I just can't even get over the time has just flown by having you with me right now. It's funny because I love to ask my guests this question, but it's so inappropriate for you. Because I say, if you were to go back and give your 25-year-old self some advice, well, you're not even 25 yet. And look at what you're doing with your life. But I would love, you're so just full of brilliance and wisdom, my friend. For anybody listening, Amy, and who is a parent, let's speak to the parents that are out there listening, or if you're an aunt or uncle, or you have impact on younger children, and I want it to be for both boys and girls. What advice would you give them if they're listening? What would you say that you could say if you could scream to every parent or guardian out there? What could they do to empower their children, girls and boys?
I think the biggest thing that's always kept me going, just from the mentors that I've had in my life, from my parents, from everybody older than me, people believed. And I think there's really, really something powerful about looking at a boy or a girl, your daughter or son, and saying, I believe in your potential. I know you can do something with it. The power of just, letting somebody choose their own future and having the utmost confidence that they can do it to the best that they can do is one of the best gifts that you can give someone. So I would say trust in your children, trust in their ability to do something big. Give them some freedom, encourage them, inspire them, but most of all, believe in them.
I love that. Believe in them. And your parents have always believed in you, your entire family, your grandmother, everybody. And it's so evident that support. And I still love the visual of you on the shoulders of greatness and how powerful that is. And can you imagine if every young person out there could at some point in their life feel that same sense of gratitude and yet belief that somebody believed in them?
Truly, yes.
It has been an absolute joy. I cannot tell you. I wish we lived closer because like I said, I'm just going to be watching everything you do. You know, I am here for you. I am in awe. Thank you for being and giving me this time today and sharing yourself. If people want to know more, Amy, if they have questions for you, if there's a way that sometimes people just want to reach out, how would it be and work best for you if people want to reach out and ask you questions or know more about anything we shared?
Absolutely. Well, my social media is all my name, Amy Gong Liu. And you can also email me, amygongliu@columbia.edu. But yes, Holly, thank you so much for having me here. It's been really, it's hard, I think, to believe in young people to really see the potential in them. But I've been nothing but motivated and inspired by my peers and the people around me who are doing such great work. And it really, I think, you should be an example for other people to follow, reaching out to other young people, really seeing the value in organizations that grow up and saying, this can be something big.
Thank you. Thank you, my love. I am just a fan and an unbelievable. I feel humbled to be in all of your presence and to know what you're doing. So have an amazing weekend ahead of you. You know, we both committed. It's time to rest a little bit. It's been a bit crazy. Yes. And you need some sleep. So you're going to get some sleep. And I can't wait to connect with you again soon and hear all that you're doing. And thank you, my love, for just being an ambassador of grace and brilliance in this world.
Absolutely. Thank you, Holly.
Bye, darling.
Bye.
Thank you for joining me for another awesome celebration of you. If you were inspired by this story, please share it with your family and friends and hashtag Your Story Matters. I'd love to hear from you, so please leave a comment on iTunes. And absolutely, please come to my website, hollydowling.com. Leave a comment there too, and while you're there, pick up your free gift. Most importantly, though, just remember that your life is a gift from God. What you do with it is your gift back.